Good morning, folks. Senior Pride here, and today I'm going to discuss the role of poverty in seniors and persons with disabilities and those of us who cross the borders of both, and how it negatively affects both physical, mental, and cognitive health. First of all, a basic premise that I think we all understand. If people have the choice, and if the only things they can choose between are literally a roof over their head and food, they'll pick the roof over their head. At least most people will. And, for me, that was a personal choice. I was 54. The chance that I was going to be on the street was very high. And this place took them 55 plus, so I agreed, it was a roof over my head. In fact, it was food, maybe not great food, but food in my belly. And sometimes we have to make choices that are unpleasant, that are against everything we want and believe in, but they keep that roof over our head. Here in the Canadian prairies, it gets cold a lot of time throughout the winter, and the winter is long, and so that roof over our head becomes like, it's a lifeline, literally. That being said, inadequate nutrition, we know malnutrition leads to all kinds of problems with the physical body, with mental health, with cognitive health, certainly. And so people who are living in poverty generally are going to experience more health problems and have less access to the supports they need to cope with those health problems. I was reading yesterday that the food banks in Canada have literally doubled in number in the need. This doesn't surprise me. Food is so very, very expensive in Canada. We have a few small corporations that basically control everything. I'm even seeing it in my home where, we pay a huge monthly fee for services that include food, and they're changing the diet a little bit because they have to. Food is so overpriced. But that means that the folks in this building who are seniors, all of whom have some form of disability, whether it be mental, cognitive, or physical, or a combination, are going to experience worse nutritional outcomes. And that affects everything. There are a lot of folks here that are morbidly obese. This is not something that I'm sure they planned on, but it's leading to all kinds of other health problems. And the reality is there'll be like 3 really cheesy desserts, including things like Jell-O. I don't think about Jell-O because I don't eat dead animals, although I have to admit, since I came here, I had to give in and start eating fish, because if I wasn't pescatarian, I literally would be malnourished. But I see a lot of folks, consuming like 2-3 desserts at a meal because it's the only thing they really feel comfortable with, and that is a problem. At the same time, they're increasing the things like noodles and white rice, and they're decreasing, the vegetables. They're adding, they used to add a lot of fat to them, like vegetable oils. They've actually increased that, not decreased it. So, I'll take a plate and I'll literally pour a cup of oil off the vegetables, and they're doing it to increase flavor and ensure that people eat something. These are frozen vegetables that already have a lot of chemical additives and other issues going on. So this is not healthy, but it's desperation. As food prices climb, the need to make things available that are sort of affordable becomes more and more a problem for older people and for anybody in poverty, for people with disabilities. Certainly, most of us live in poverty. This means that our health is being compromised, and it's being compromised by a few very selfish corporations that know they can do this. Now, there are these outcomes, these things, like we look at cognitive health, for instance, in seniors, and we see that unless they have certain nutrients in the body, it affects the chemical production in the brain. It affects development of the brain cells. It affects everything. So cognitive decline increases as we're malnourished. People on the street I could talk about this for hours, what they're suffering. And the fact is, more and more people have been unhoused in Canada, certainly in Alberta, because of the housing crisis, where the rents are so high. For me, I'm on AISH, assured income for the severely handicapped, and it won't cover rent in, say, 250 square foot, and I'm putting that for the Americans, and we talk about that too, but 250 square foot room, I can't cover the rent with AISH. So here I am in low-income seniors housing that is got its issues. And I think we're all in a very desperate state. Certainly in Canada, I understand that many other countries are experiencing very similar issues with food prices just climbing insanely, with housing prices out of control. Again, a few small corporations have bought up all the available housing. They're maintaining it at a level where there isn't enough for everybody, so they can bolt those rents way up. And while they're gaining money, we're falling down. Now, that being said, I'm going to get back. Remember I told you a couple of days ago that I tend to think about 12 things at once? Here we are. But I'm going to go back a minute. Because of the lack of basic necessities, people are struggling. The other thing, interestingly, is the stress levels. And stress levels affect everything. They affect our physical body, they affect our mental health, they affect our cognitive health. Stress is high because, for example, banks are trying to get money out of people. Credit card companies are trying to get money out of people. Everybody's jacking up the prices and going after people who just don't have the funds to pay these enormous fees, what they may owe, and I'm certainly in that boat. I owe money to 2 credit card companies. I have no way of paying it. And every time I talk to them about trying to give me something that I can work on, a payment plan, well, you don't have enough, or we don't do that. So it's almost like they want to destroy my credit rating. They want to go after me. I'm getting emails and texts every day from these folks. Threats. Well, threaten me all you want, but if I have to pay the rent first, you don't come first. I'm sorry. Now, there is a little bit of good news. Because some of these big corporations have gotten kind of full of themselves and think they can just get people to pay whatever, smaller companies, or businesses that are owned by single or group individuals that are small, are producing healthier foods, organic foods, sometimes, that are a lot less expensive. They're healthier, they're less expensive, and they're doable. I want to note one Canadian company. I don't know how old they are, but I don't think they're that old. And they have not asked me to do this. I could probably get in trouble for doing this, but I don't have permission. But I really feel this company, this small business, has shown themselves to be incredible. They provide organic foods and very healthy foods. They provide plant-based proteins. Most of the foods are kind of like snack foods or breakfast foods, or things that you can cook or bake with. But the reality is they're from Ontario, and they do a wonderful job of keeping the prices far lower than you pay for really horrible things, for junk or for so-called healthy foods, which are full of chemicals and all kinds of other additives from these big corporations. The company I'm talking about is UPIK, YUPIK. I found them on Amazon.ca. Because there's no way I'm going to live on the cookies that are the only snack now that is put out here. And because my protein sources are limited, because they can't afford to provide me with healthy sources of plant protein, I I purchase a few things every month from UPIC, and I have to say I'm very impressed with them. I think if you have a chance, take a look. See, certainly for my fellow Canadians, take a look. See that you can purchase some healthier foods at decent, relatively speaking, decent prices compared to what you're getting in the grocery store with these huge corporations. And we all know who they are. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to get myself in trouble that way. But yeah, start doing your research, folks. There are a few people out there who are making a difference. We just need to find them, and we need to support them while we start taking our support away from these corporations that are trying to starve us all to death and to feed us stuff that is very unhealthy. The other thing is, and I'm going to go back to that basic housing issue, if your housing is not appropriate, as much as we don't want to deal with this, and I can deal with this with my psychology background, it is a problem. If you're in a cramped space, if you don't have basic necessities like a decent bed, if you're struggling to buy clothing, if all those little basic things that we used to take for granted, they're a problem now. We are raising a generation in poverty. And this is not something to be proud of, let me tell you. We see seniors, people with disabilities, people in poverty, living day to day. They're struggling. It doesn't surprise me when I see 40 cents in my checking account, because that's usually what I have by the beginning of the month after I've paid the basics. Some bills don't get paid. I pay alternate months. Some companies are very, very, they're inexcusably rude. They don't seem to realize that they are taking advantage, or maybe they do realize they're taking advantage of Canadians, and they don't care. So if these basic things like food, clothing, shelter, basic essentials are gone, you can't afford them, stress happens. And physical stress on the body by not being nourished properly, mental stress by not being able to provide yourself with the basic necessities, emotional stress by being harassed by these big corporations. All of these things lead to reduced cognitive, mental, and physical health. And when you cannot afford the things you need to at least maintain yourself at a certain level, then the problem is compounded. So people are literally, we're creating a generation of dementia because we don't care. I think it's time that we as citizens started to fight back. Do things like speak out. We have our voice. The one thing we will always have is our voice. Speak out. Tell people what you think. If they're gonna, like in this place, write you down on a behavioral report, bite me. Write me down on it. You can fill out all the behavioral reports you want, but I am not going to be quiet. And that's what I'm asking all my fellow citizens to do. Speak out. Don't support the people who are harming you. Support the people who are helping you. If, like me, you're in a position where you can't really control the fact that you are kind of supporting people that are harming you, speak out. Use that voice. Say what you mean. Say what you feel. Don't worry about what they think, because if enough of us speak out, it will change. And with that, I say good day. Thank you, folks.